Guess it's going to... Got it. Okay, so let's... So, everybody, let me present our special guest, Mr. Richard Graham, the founder of, or the creator of Genki English. I think that's a great and a unique way and a teaching approach to teaching English to children. And today we're going to talk with him about his experience, about his ideas, and how he came to create this whole thing to be. I believe that if he were here, you would be climbing and stretching. He would made you. I'm right? Right?
Absolutely.
So there we go, Richard. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Can I see everybody? Can I see it? Can you turn your camera on so I can see everybody? And welcome to everybody online too. So, good afternoon, everyone. What did you think of the video there with the kids? What were you thinking of? What were your impressions?
She wanted to be there.
Yes. Awesome. Cool. So that was back when I used to teach 1,000 kids at a time. There were about 300 kids there. That's at a school in Japan, and I used to go there, and we used to. That's the input stage, is getting the kids, you give them the new words there. The target language is I can, and getting them confident body language. Because obviously, if you're speaking a language, if you sort of sat down going, bleh, and you talk like nobody wants to communicate with you, the big part of language is the body language. So we got the kids super excited by it, got them moving. Because when you learn new words with a physical gesture and a visual picture and the sound, it means you remember it for the next week. So it's a lot easier for students. And they do it with the song, and then they can practice the song on their own. They never forget the English. And then you can do games and activities where they're actually speaking afterwards, and they're actually communicating and using the language. So what do you all think about teaching 300 kids at once? Does that sound like fun? Does that sound like horrible? Or what do you think? I didn't quite catch that.
Our colleagues said it sounds crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Chaos. Another word is chaos.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is one of the things is that when you're teaching like this, it is always on the border of chaos, but don't go over the border into total chaos. You control it in a certain way. So when you notice, when you've been learning your discipline techniques and things, you make sure you get all your discipline techniques in place. You have the expectations of behavior, and that means you can really push it. So you can have all the kids going, yay, and you can do big activities where they're all talking. And that's how we pull back as a teacher. So then in the beginning, the teacher lights the fire. We get them excited, and then we pull back and let them communicate. And then our job is just listening and checking and thinking, okay, we need to do that and that. But yeah, discipline and thing are really, really important as well when we're doing those kinds of activities. Of course, the alternative way is to tell everybody to sit down, shut up, give them a textbook, open to page 86 and just go for 3 hours or 3 years or 6 years, because that's boring and we know it doesn't work, because we know that the most schools in the world, that's how they teach. And luckily, the sit down, shut up school is now finished. That doesn't work anymore. So now kids want this excitement, and you as a teacher, you can help. You build your skills so you can teach rather than just 10 kids or 30 kids. If you can teach 100 kids or 300 kids, you can help a lot more kids in the world.
For sure. And as we can see, you bring a lot of funkiness into your teaching. And what I would say, it's not only being funky, but as you can see on Richard's t-shirt, it's becoming being Genki. So this is what we are going to be talking about today. The name of the present, or the name of today's talk or conversation is how to become a Genki teacher. So I think you are the best, or one of the best, if not the best person to talk about Genki teachers. So before we talk about that, I want to go step by step. So my first question to you would be, how did you get to teaching? What's the short story about you getting into teaching?
Good question. So I started teaching when I was 16. So I was at school in the UK and I was doing my exams, the A-level exams we do when you're 18 in England. And most of the teachers were really, really, it was just so, my school, so today we're in Italy. This is the castle I live in Italy, but I went to school in England, in the UK, and my school in England was founded in the year 1612. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the teachers were also born in 1612 because they are it was just so old. So I was thinking, okay, I want to exams to do. I don't want to do boring stuff. I want to learn I want to learn it, you know. I'm enthusiastic. I want to get great marks. I want A's all the way in my subjects. But I couldn't find a teacher who would teach me. They would just send me to sleep. So at 16, I thought, okay, well, if I can't find a great teacher, maybe other people can't. And you know, at 16, I was wanting some more money to buy new keyboards and then do cool stuff. And so I started teaching then, and I started teaching my own students. And I looked at my teachers at school, and I was like, okay, that's a good teacher. She's really good. I'm going to take best ideas from her. And this guy here, my goodness, he's a terrible teacher. I'm never going to do that. And that's how I started building up my own teaching experience. So you're never too young to start teaching. My daughter was teaching English online when she was 11. She bought herself a cat. She bought herself some AirPods, and she bought herself a scooter from teaching online when she was 11. So you're never too young to start. And I think can I just ask, how many in the live audience here, or maybe online as well, I can't see you all online, but certainly the live audience, how many of you are teachers and how many of you are student teachers, are learning to be teachers? So let me just ask, so put your hand up if you're a teacher already. If you're teaching now, you okay? And if you're a student teacher, put your hands up. Okay, so we've got lots of student teachers there. Okay. And those of you on Zoom as well, if you want to put your, I can see as well. Cool. So for the student teachers, many of you, your own students that you're teaching outside of your class. If you've got your own students that you're also teaching outside class, put your hands up. You, okay. So, yeah, so So my question for that is, if you're learning to be a teacher, let's ask a different question. If you're learning how to ski, we've got some mountains over there, you can't see, but there's some mountains. If you want to learn how to ski, do you spend your time studying how to ski and going to classes and watching videos and doing seminars and things? Is that how you learn how to ski? Or do you learn to ski by skiing, by actually going on a slope and going down the hill? Which do you think? Actually skiing. So to be a teacher, to be a great teacher, because you're all going to be awesome teachers, yeah? And please, nobody says to be an average teacher. Yep. When I grow up, when I finish this course, I want to be average. I want to be the most average teacher there is. Like, nobody wants that. Kids don't want that. Parents don't want that. You have to want to be a great teacher, yeah? And you become a great teacher by teaching. And if you can combine what you're studying at university, you're learning all the theory and everything, you can combine that with teaching your real lessons now, privately, outside, or maybe volunteering, then that's the very best way to learn, because you get the theory and the practice. Because the difference between theory and practice is that in theory, they're the same, but in practice, they're very different.
Thank you. Now, so you said you started teaching at the age of 16. What about your teaching experience abroad?
Yeah, so I was teaching. I was teaching in the UK at first, and then I went to university, and I went to university in France. And so obviously I was doing a degree in science, a science degree, and we were doing that in French, which was an interesting experience. And then after university, I had a chance. I wanted to travel more, because this was way before COVID. It was a long time ago when we could travel. The world, you can travel anywhere in the world. There's so many different places you can travel. And I had a choice of going to Sierra Leone or to Japan. And Sierra Leone in Africa had a civil war, so I thought maybe not the best place. So that's when I went to Japan, and I went to Japan on the Japan Exchange and Teaching Program. And I was teaching science in schools there, and also English as well. And that's the first time I started teaching English, was abroad when I was in Japan. And I was a full-time teacher for 3 years. And then when my contract finished, I got invited to come and do workshops around the world. And now I've taught and done presentations in all over Asia, like Japan and China and Korea, and to Hong Kong, and in Singapore, in Europe, in Germany, in Austria, in Ukraine, in Russia, in Italy, in France, lots of different places. Then online, like last week, we had an online workshop in Peru and things as well. So yeah.
Japan, was born in Japan, yes?
Yeah.
What was your, how did it start?
Yeah, so basically the same as when I first started when I was 16. So when I went to Japan, I was looking at school and how they were teaching it. And Japan is interesting. Japan and China are very interesting because kids go to school during the day, like regular government school, and they sleep. It's basically sleep time, because then after school, until 10 p.m. or 11 p.m., they go to cram school where they're learning for the tests. So they really, the cram school, they put all the attention on that. And then in the mornings, they're so tired, they just sleep through regular classes, which is like crazy. And I couldn't believe that. Like when I was in high school and stuff, I was like, then they're sleeping in class. How can you let them sleep? And the teachers would let them. The teacher's like, it's okay, they're tired. I'm like, dude, I'm tired, but I'm not sleeping. So I was looking, okay, what do we have to do here? What's the goal? What is the outcome of these lessons? Why are we teaching? Some teachers just go to school for their paycheck. You know, they just go there, they hand out a bunch of worksheets and they collect their money at the end of the month. Now that's really stupid for two reasons. Number one reason is that it's not good for the kids. And the second reason is teachers don't get paid much. So if you're doing this job for the money, you're in the wrong job. You need to be doing it to help people. So we would look at the kids and we say, okay, what do they need? And it was always exam results that they needed. So, okay, how can we get great exam results whilst being energetic and fun and learning through all technology and movies and music and all this sort of stuff? And in Japan, there's a word for that. So it's this word called genkiness, being genki. So in Japanese, it means, how are you? So when you want to speak to someone in Japan, if you want to say, how are you? You say, Genki, and they go, Genki. But it also means the key is the chi, like the Chinese chi. It's your inner energy. So genkiness is your energy. So, for example, if you're too really sleepy and you're not genki. But if you're full of energy, then you're genki. So that's where it came from there.
So, okay, so we were working on this. You had this challenge to take children or students or viewers in Japan to bring them alive, to bring them Genki, to make them help them be Genki. And I assume there were many difficulties or struggles. So, and with struggles, sometimes come aha moments when you realize, oh, well, this works, this doesn't work, and so on. What can you share at least one aha moment with us?
Cool. It's quite a few. So, I think the thing is that like you never fail. You only fail if you quit. So when you do something, you either win or you learn, and so you have to look at it. So, for example, like you saw the class there with 300 kids. Yeah, you know, the first time I was teaching 100 kids, it was a total disaster. Because it was 100 kids. I was like, how do we keep these kids under control? And it's like, what's going on? And I was like, well, I mean, I managed to get through the lesson just by, you know, smiling lots, asking questions, listening to them, and figured it out. But then I was thinking, okay, I need discipline techniques. So that's why I had to go and learn lots of discipline techniques and also things like sound systems. You know, we learned that, you know, the tech is really important. If you have really bad speakers or if you have a really bad microphone, then it's really hard for the kids to concentrate. But if you have really clear speakers and really good sound, then it's really easier for the kids to understand. So we did that. And then we also had lots of feedback from boring teachers. Like we have lots of boring teachers who look at our lessons and they would say, oh, no, that's not education. And they'd be saying to us, no, you can't. No, children should be seen and not heard, and they should be sat down and not talking. And communication in English classes, that's terrible. And all this kind of really old-fashioned, boring people who would say stuff. And we bet those people, we won against those people by getting great results. Because if you get great results and you have fun doing it, you will always win. Because their alternative is worse results with less fun, and nobody would ever choose that. So maybe some parents would choose, like a tiger moms in China, and they might choose exam results as the preference and they don't care about fun. Or if you can have fun and results, you win every time.
So you said this thing that either you win or you learn. So that's a wonderful thing to I think really point your attention to. You've got nothing to lose. You've got nothing to lose. So I mean to say to these young people who would, I hope, want to become teachers, at least at some point of your life. These people, young people, would like to start somehow and somewhere. And you were at what time in your life you were in their position? What have you learned during your experience you wish you had known when you started teaching?
Well, I think one of the things that I wish I'd have known when I started Genki English, and we're trying to reach, when we reached 1 million students, we would then set a goal of trying to reach 1 billion students. And then we quickly realized that you have to work with governments and things, and not every government in the world is really interested in education. Education is not always their #1 priority for schools. So that's probably one thing I wish I'd have known. But as far as getting started is concerned, it's just a journey. So I got started when I thought when I was 16, I wanted to start teaching. I just wrote a card and I put lessons, give me a call, and I just put it up in the supermarket and got my first student that way. And that's how, and you only need one student to start, because then with that one student, you listen to them, listen to what they want, and you get them really great results, and you keep learning. And when you don't know something, you ask, you go away and you find out. And then that student tells the next student, tells the next student, the next student. And very quickly, I mean, some of you could, any of you in the room now could have 100 students, 120 students, and set up your own school very quickly within a few months, if you wanted to do that. Obviously, if you're doing 120 students and you put them in groups of 8 or 10, that's maybe 3 hours per day you're working, but it's a very nice salary you'll get from that. And then you've helped all those people. If you want to go to 1,000 students or 1 million students, then obviously you have to look at different things like social media, making teams and grouping together. But all of you can start. You just either put a card up in the supermarket, or just talk to some friends and say, hey, I'm thinking of teaching English. I've been studying how to do it. Do you know anyone who might like lessons? And even if you do the first couple of them really cheap or even free or something, then you can start and then build up from there. And then decide what kind of a teacher you want to be. Do you want to work in the government school system, which is cool because you get to help all kids? Do you maybe want to teach on social media and end up with 1 million students and a job where you can travel around the world? Or maybe you want a chain of schools. You want your name on the top of your school in every city in the country and every city around Europe. You get to choose. It's a really cool, really good career to have, because this skill, everybody needs it. Everybody needs it. And if you can add, if you just teach English, it's good. But if you can add something else to the English, it's even better. So for example, with us, we have English and then self-development. So you're learning English and confidence skills. So if you can do something else with English, either business skills with English, or sports skills with English, or different types of hobbies with English, or music in English, then you can business anywhere in the world if you want to, or go into government schools if you want to do that as well. Did that answer the question? I'm maybe not answering the questions here.
We're looking at a guy who started teaching now he's living in a castle in Italy. It's crazy. What's this all about? But whatever you're talking about seems so easy. But you have had failures. And can you share at least one story where you experienced failure, but you didn't give up and you moved on, regardless?
Well, there's loads of them. I mean, one of the very first things I did in Japan was I was supposed to teach high school, and I just finished my degree in space science. I arrived in Japan, middle of the summer, super hot, and a shirt on, tie, and going in there, I went into the Board of Education. They said, oh, the high schools are closed because it's summer vacation. And they said, we're going to send you to the kindergarten instead. So they sent me to the kindergarten with 100 kids and me in my tie and suit on in boiling hot weather. And 100 kids just saw me and went, wow, and just jumped over. So I was like, okay, that's a bit crazy. So I had to get over that. And we've had lots of other things as well. We've had projects where the whole government, they put Genki English in every school, and then there's been a government coup, and they change governments and they cancel all the projects. We're like, we've had things where we work a lot in the slum areas of India, and we have a lot of different challenges and problems there. We've worked in places like Thailand where there's like conflicts and things going on. Even now, we've got like hundreds of teachers, thousands of kids in Ukraine who are learning through Genki English. So there's a whole thing on there. So there's all sorts of things, but it's only a failure if you give up. If you keep trying to find a way, then it's not a failure. It's always a chance to learn. And for example, now with Ukraine, we're learning so much what we've learned from other conflict areas. We can now bring that into the teaching. Or for example, with COVID, like when COVID hit, for years we've been planning. We've had plans for a pandemic because in Hong Kong and Asia they had SARS. So when COVID hit in Europe, we could say, okay, here's the plan. Here's how you teach online. Here are your lesson plans. Here's the support plans. Here's what you need to do. And all our teachers, just about all our teachers, got on Zoom and they were teaching and they loved it, and they kept going all the way through the pandemic, which was really cool. So everything is a chance to learn.
As you told us, your university training was not education, was not teaching. You were studying science. And I know about you that you love music and you love creating music. Or how have these two parts, made or enriched your teaching capabilities or skills?
Absolutely. So with the music side, it's actually, so Genki English, it's all done through music. Like if you notice the superhero song there, and the reason is that we focus on speaking. And when you're learning a language, speaking is always first. No one ever says, oh, I really wish I could do English grammar. They never say that. They all say, I really wish I could speak English. Yeah. Everybody wants to speak it. So that's what we focus on. And of course, when you're speaking, you can't read or write yet, because if you bring the reading and writing in too early, that's where you get the high school problem where the speaking suffers because of the reading and writing. You have to get the speaking first. And so the question is, how do you teach speaking without having the reading and writing? How do you memorize stuff? How do you remember it? And that's where we use music. So I've been a music producer since I was like 11. I've had I like things like adverts on TV. I've written music for adverts and things. So we would look at, adverts on TV are designed to brainwash you into buying a product. And there are very specific musical techniques that we use to get the name of the product in your head. And so what I did was I took those techniques that I learned for doing like ads, or now we're doing movie trailers and things for selling movies. And we take those musical techniques and we put those into the Genki English songs. So when I'm writing a new lesson, I always write the music first. Well, I get the target language and then write the music around that. So the music is actually what allows us to teach and allows the students to remember everything without needing to write it down. And that's why we get much faster results. Like if you look at the research that Harvard University did on Genki English, we get much quicker results because we use this music thing. And then for the science, if you're a scientist, you just, it's a way of looking at the world. So for example, like say with the India projects, I would approach it in a really scientific way. So we would get all the kids in the school, like maybe hundreds of kids or tens of kids. Like some projects in China have thousands of kids. So we would get all the kids, we test all the kids, and we design tests, and then we would do Genki English for half of the course, and we would test them again. And then we would do them at the end of the course and test them again. And then we would look at the numbers to find out if what we were doing actually works. Because I think a lot of like humanities is very, like, I'm a hardcore scientist. So when I was at uni, I was using a NASA satellite to study black holes. And it's a Markarian 421. It's a black hole. It spins around and then it shoots these ultraviolet rays to Earth, and we can capture them and we can measure how big the black hole is and where it is and how fast it's going. But when you're talking about kids and songs and learning English, it's a lot more difficult to get that data. But if you got the scientific mindset about it, you say, okay, I'm going to try this technique in this class. So this over here is going to be my control group. I'm going to test them both at the beginning. I'm going to do this intervention here, keep everything the same here. And then after blah, blah weeks or blah, blah months, test them again, see what the results are. And if there's a positive result, we say, cool. Was that the only variable? Do we need to change other variables? And can we replicate this? Can we do that experiment again? Does it always get the results? For example, with the Genki English lesson plans, we've been doing this for 20 years now. So the lesson plans, we say they're 99% effective or 99% success rate. It's probably a bit more than that, which means, still, one class out of every 100 will fail completely. But we try and quantify and measure scientifically as much as we can within the parameters. We could talk about this all day, all the SPSS experts and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of data crunching that goes on behind the scenes, but it's really important to actually, if you can't, when you're from a scientific point of view, to learn what we're actually doing. Is it really making the difference we want for the kids, or is it something else? So, for example, very often I'm banned. I'm not allowed to go into the schools because if I go in there as an English person, as an English speaking person, and I mess up the results because the kids would see me and maybe they hear my story and they might get inspired in different ways. So I have to pull me out of it and just go with local teachers and the similar levels and just one change at a time and measuring it. So. Oh, I can't hear you very well. This minute.
we had a workshop yesterday, and I showed them also one of my online lessons, and I told them that I was calibrating children, or I was kind of, can say, manipulating, because that's what we do as teachers. We are trying to do the positive manipulation, if I can say it this way. Now, so you
influence.
Okay, good. Excuse me. So that's better. Yeah. Politically correct. Yes, politically correct. Now, you used music and your skills of these kind of influencing that you had from commercials and TV experience to create catchy tunes and catchy songs. And then you used your scientific background to scale it. Yeah. So that was very interesting to see how different parts of our lives, even if you're not professional teachers, you can do it anyways, and you can try your best.
Absolutely, yeah.
So now it seems as if the beginning of the whole Genki English stuff was easy. Yeah, I don't know, was it easy?
To be honest, it felt easy because I just, it did. I was just at the right place at the right time. That I started out just as the internet was starting. So everybody else would have to write books and it would take them months to get them published. And then their ideas didn't get spread. Whereas I could do a lesson, put it online, wake up the next morning and hundreds of teachers had already used that lesson and given me feedback on how to make it better. So it seemed really easy. And then business-wise, we were selling music, so we could sell CDs, and then that allowed us to travel and do all the other stuff. So yeah, that was pretty easy in the beginning, yeah.
What about the challenges you're facing now?
Challenge we're facing now: Brexit, COVID, and a war. Business-wise, challenges streaming. Because we've always, selling the music was great. The building next door. Selling the music was great on CDs, and that allowed us to give lots of other things for free. We could do lots of other support projects and things. And now with the streaming world, it's much more difficult to do that because streaming doesn't give you that kind of income. Like the Genki English software, we spent well over $1 million, like nearly $2 million developing the actual software that teachers use. So the streaming is a bit of a challenge there. And then obviously, then just other things like the whole geopolitical situation and stuff. It's a different world to what it was 20 years ago. 20 years ago, you could be anywhere on the planet. You could visit anywhere, even North Korea. You could visit. You know, we were planning a visit to North Korea at one point. Now things are a little bit more restricted and things. So that's maybe a bit more of a challenge. But it is what it is. It's when I was a kid at school. You know, we were still in the Cold War. It was I couldn't even visit Slovakia. It was like it was the whole. Slovakia wasn't a country back then. It was a country, but it wasn't. You know, it was not as it is now. So yeah, things change, things go on. You just have to keep clear on your goals, keep clear on what you want to do. So my goal is always, even though I spend most of my time helping teachers and you know, doing materials for teachers, training for teachers, my goal is always the kids. It's always the kids. I hate to see kids suffering through boring lessons. I want to change that. And if every kid had a super Genki lesson all the time, I could retire and it would be fantastic.
So going back to your young students or young people in training to become teachers. Now, they might think, oh, it was easy for him. Oh, it was all kind of smooth. Like I would say, so like a British person going to Japan, how difficult that has to be or had to be. But now, if we took on the other side, or to take a look at their perspective, and maybe they can find even many excuses why not to teach. But let's be more positive, and what do you think? What are the benefits? What advantages do they have now that they can use to their benefit to start, teaching to gain experience, teaching to, gather at least some income, teaching for whatever reason they like. So what advantages do they have, for example, that you didn't have?
Awesome question. So the number one biggest advantage that you have all got right now is TikTok and Instagram and social media, because I didn't when I first started. This is how we had to do it. Yeah, I had a 1975 Volkswagen camper van, and we started at the bottom of Japan, and we drove all the way to the top of Japan. Whenever I passed the school, we went into the school and we said, when we come back down, can we do a show for your kids, like you just saw in the video, and a workshop for the teachers? And so we did that all the way up. And then some schools said yes, some schools said no. Some schools said, oh, we've already had one English lesson this year. That's more than enough for us. Some of them said, we don't want foreigners in our school. No. But most of them were cool. And then when we went back down, every time we went to a school, we would call the TV and call the newspapers. And then we started getting in all the newspapers. And then we used the clippings to show the other newspapers. And eventually we got on national newspapers and national TV. We had Koyuki-san, who was with Tom Cruise in the last samurai movie. She was on TV teaching Genki English songs. So we built it up like that. And it took us ages in a camper van in freezing cold temperatures. You can do everything now with your phone. It's like you can reach millions of people. And the thing is as well, from a non-native speaker point of view, is that if I'm like on my YouTube channel, we have like 40 million views on YouTube, yeah? And I can only reach the people who already speak English. But you can reach the people who don't speak English yet. You can reach a whole market that I can't reach. And you can do it through your phone, through TikTok and Instagram. So there's a girl in Italy, and she's an English teacher in Italy. And during the pandemic, she just started doing TikTok lessons on her phone, yeah? A little bit kooky, a little bit crazy, but no dancing or anything, just English lessons. And she would do those on her phone. And within a year, she launched her online school. So she launched an online course, and she sold 600,000 euros of courses in her first year of doing that. I've got friends on YouTube, and they put English lessons on YouTube, And they have, one of them has over 2 billion views, and another one has got even more than that. I don't know, I think it's like 3 billion or something like that. Just to give you some numbers, you know, 1 billion views used to be around $1 million in income. So now YouTube is oversubscribed because there are too many people on YouTube, but TikTok is open now. There are just not enough teachers on there. Instagram Reels as well. And the cool thing is you don't have to be a super famous influencer, yeah? You don't have to get millions of dollars from that. You can just put your lessons up there, and then that becomes your recruitment for your real life lessons. So if you're teaching privately on the side or setting up your own school, getting some practice in, if you've got an Instagram channel with 1,000 followers who are watching your videos every day, it's really easy for you to fill up your physical real world classes, and that lets you build up a business that way. Or you can just stay on TikTok and Instagram and travel the world and go and live on a beach in Thailand, teaching Slovakian kids and Slovakian adults. It's up to you. Do what you want. It's that's the huge advantage you've got now, is that you speak the local language, which native speakers can't get into, and you've got social media on your phone. So the only thing that's stopping you is when you get on your phone, who are you? Are you a consumer, where you're just having things pushed towards you? Or are you a producer, where your phone is for producing amazing content, for answering questions, for teaching cool phrases, for helping people out? You just have to choose. When you pick up your phone, are you a consumer or are you a producer? Oh, I can't hear again.
It is obvious that you have your way of, you know, promoting your work and doing stuff online. But what if we talk about an advice to or for the students or for these young teachers, that, for example, if you imagine how should they approach their students in, for example, let's say they find some students, some kids that would like to, you know, learn from them or learn with them. You know, how could they approach? Let's say they are going to teach. How can they approach? How should they? How would you approach it if you were in their position that tomorrow you have a lesson, let's say with two children? How would you approach that teaching experience?
Cool. But the first thing is to listen. So hopefully, maybe if we could take some of these questions from all of you, that would be fantastic. So when you get a new student in, the first thing you ask them is the magic wand question. So you say to the parents or the adult, if it's an adult student, and you say, look, if I could wave a magic wand and make this the best English learning experience you could possibly imagine, what would that be like? And then just listen to what they tell you and then do it. That's very simple. Either use the techniques you've been learning at university, or ask other friends who do that, or go on YouTube and search for techniques on how to teach that type of thing. But the key is always finding out what they want and how they want to learn, because it's very different to what we think. We have the curse of knowledge, so we think they want this, whereas usually they want something here. It's a different sort of experience. Like, for example, my very first student, I spent ages building my curriculum, and I was like, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do that and that. It's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna do this. It's gonna be so good. It's the best curriculum ever. All this homework every day. He's gonna do this and this and this. It's gonna be brilliant. It's gonna be fluent in a weekend. Well, not a weekend, but you know. So I started it with my very first lesson. It's cool. And we did the cool stuff. And I was like, cool, here's your homework. And he went, I'm like, yeah. And he goes, yeah, nah, don't have time for homework. And I was like, oh, okay. Then next lesson, he's forgotten everything. And then the next lesson, we're doing the same thing again because he kept forgetting because he didn't want to do homework. And I was like, okay. That was my plan all out the window. But if I'd have listened in the beginning, if I'd have said to him, if I could wave a magic wand and make the perfect English experience for you, then he would have told me how much time he had, what his goal was, how he wants to learn. And then I could have looked for other ways to teach him in the sort of way that he wanted to learn. So I think that's the key, is listen, talk to them, listen, and then go and find the skills. And also as well, if they want to learn something you don't know how to teach, learn how to teach it. You know, if it's 5-6-year-old kids and they want to learn how to play Roblox in English and you've no idea what Roblox is, then learn it, because as a teacher, building up these extra skills are always really good, so that, you know, now you can drop me in a class of kindergarteners and I'll know what to do. You can drop me in a class of pensioners. Well, actually, kindergarteners and pensioners are almost the same. They're exactly the same, except the grannies are more dangerous because they're like, but the groups in the middle, you learn these different skills and you can teach different types of people.
I just imagined some grandparents dancing on a superhero song.
That's how I used to test it. So on a Thursday, I had my big primary school day was Thursday, and then Wednesday evening was my granny's class, and I would test the games on them. But the grannies are vicious. The kids are polite. They'll go, "Oh, you go. It's okay. Yeah, you go." Whereas the grannies are like, "Whoa, get out of my way! I'm going to win this."
I can stretch, but I can't stretch. I can't jump.
Actually, it's funny. I did a workshop in Nagasaki, and Nagasaki in Japan. It's where and there was, in the audience, so we were doing all the jumping up and down, and there was a teacher in the front row, and she was maybe like 40 or something like that, and she was saying, "Oh, I can't do this. If I did this every day, I'd just die." Was a lady, and she must have been 80. She was like, and she said, no, my dear, if you don't do this every day, you'll die. Okay, old ladies win. They win.
Yes. So healthy lifestyle. Yeah, we promote healthy lifestyle. Longevity.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a big part of it. It's like, you were talking about taking things from other areas. In a lot of countries, the whole obesity thing is crazy because kids are just sat down all day long, and it's the worst. Like, I'm stood up now. I'm teaching you guys now. I'm stood up. I'm not sitting down. Yeah, because it's not good for us. Even though my belly might say otherwise, but it's you've got to. Humans are designed to move, so we bring the stuff in there, and even things like teaching vegetables. Yeah, we even put superheroes into vegetables, because there's some research that shows that if you give vegetables superhero names, kids eat more vegetables. So we have, freeze power cauliflower, and brain power broccoli, and bravado avocado, and crazy things like that. So yeah.
Now, I have my last question. I've got my last question for you, and then I hope there might be some questions from the audience. So, we are living very complicated times. Well, I'm not saying that maybe 60, 70 years ago it was easier, but they're pretty complex. Now, when we talk about education, in your opinion, what should education in the 21st century look like, and what is the teacher's role in it? So these guys, some of them were going to teach. What do you think? What should their approach be? What's their role?
So very good question. Very good question. So actually, can I ask them, what do they think their role is?
Wow. Well, they were not expecting this. So what's your role in the education of the 21st century as teachers? What do you think? Anybody?
Inspire or show the way how to be also positive and also energetic and be a role model.
Yeah, so to be one of the girls said that inspiring, to be inspiring, to inspire them, to be energetic, to motivate them, right? And lead them towards the positive path.
Nice, very cool. Yeah, I think that's just about spot on there. I think the one thing you shouldn't do is be a teacher. Don't teach, because kids now or people now don't need you to stand there saying, okay, this is a bottle, this is a hat, what is the third person conjunction of blah, blah, blah. They don't need that. They can get that on their own. We have to go back to what a teacher used to mean and what it used to be. So if you look back at India before the British went there and ruined everything with the British education system, if you look how people learned then, they call it the beautiful tree, the tree that has roots, and everybody in the village would help out with the kids. Or if you look at China, and there's an expression in China that says you can't teach anybody anything, you just open the door and they have to go through on their own. And you look at it now, any words or dictionary, everyone's got Google Translate. Everybody has got every song, every piece of music, every movie on their phones. They don't need input from you. What they need is your guidance and leadership. So I was doing a workshop last week in Peru, and they were talking about leadership. Yeah, and you will become leaders. Those of you in the room now, you will become leaders because you are in there learning things. The followers are all outside taking their late lunch and falling asleep and doing all the other stuff, but you will become the leaders. And the way you lead is not by saying, you go there. That's bad. That's not leadership. Leadership is saying, over here is something really cool. It's actually a nice, there's a nice winery over there. It's actually a Lamborghini winery just down the corner here. There's something really cool over there. I'm going over there. Come with me. That's how you lead.
They want to go.
Yeah, it's true. Mr. Lamborghini, when he retired, he bought a little farm down here. Ed Sheeran lived next door as well, actually, just over there. So anyway. Sorry?
Got some interesting neighborhood.
Yeah, it's Italy. It's cool. It's the reason why everybody, yeah, it's the reason we're here. So very expensive, but very cool.
So that was it from me now. And I wonder if there's anyone who would like to ask Richard any questions. If you do, I think it is the best thing you can come here and ask him so he can hear you first person. Whoa, that's challenging. There are any? Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we've got one person who would like to ask you something in person.
Awesome. Thank you.
Much courage to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, hello.
Hello.
So I've got a question, but I'm not sure if you are going to be able to answer it just the way I want it. But okay, so if you've got any ideas for us, because you know our target category is going to be older people to teach, and I was wondering if can you imagine teaching somebody who has no or maybe very low level of English, but he's older, so how to make it more interesting, how to make it enjoyable, not boring, and stuff like that. So
Great question. Great question. So, I mean, I teach. It's mostly adults that I teach now. So it's mostly teachers and things. But a lot of the techniques that we use in Genki English with kids, I got from corporate training. So, for example, Tony Robbins workshops, or like for big accountancy companies, or lawyer companies, or even army training. And we take a lot of those techniques, and they still work for adults. And you know what? they're almost exactly the same. There's hardly any difference between kids and adults. And the only thing with adults is they have to know why we're doing it. So kids will do it just because it's fun. But with adults, you have to explain the psychology. So you'll say, okay, so today we're gonna be doing body language and things, and this is why you need it. It's because when you do presentations, it's like this. And then take something at somebody's world class, like you take the TEDx training and say, this is what they tell TEDx people to do, and do it like this. Or for example, if you're dealing with people who want to, like I do a lot of business coaching we take companies and we build them up to, from say 100,000 up to 1 million, and from 1 million to 2 or 3 million. And you can just take techniques that they use, and it's almost exactly the same techniques. It's all psychology. It's just like we're saying, losing just means try again. You never lose. You only learn. Thinking positive. So all those techniques are all in there. If you look on the Genki English website, there's a whole section. If you search for adults, there's a whole section on teaching adults, and it's almost exactly the same. And then if they're really beginner ones, we actually use the same kids curriculum with them, but we trick the adults. So what we do is, for the first 10 or 20 minutes, we do really boring grammar textbooks. And then we say to them, okay, that was hard, wasn't it? Let's take a little break and just do something a little different. And just a bit of fun, that's all, nothing serious. And then we do Genki English with the games and the songs. And they actually end up then learning through the games and the songs, but they think they're learning from the boring bit in the beginning. Does that help answer your question?
Brilliant. Thank you very much.
It's a great question.
Oh, yes. We've got another one.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Hello.
Before when creating the activities, or if you do so nowadays, like you're just sitting and thinking, or it's in the middle of the night and the idea just comes up.
What an excellent question. So this is the whole creativity thing. To be honest, are you going to be teaching kids or teaching adults? Okay, so with kids, it's easy because everything comes from the kids. Yeah. So my entire curriculum, when I was doing my curriculum, then all I would do is I would go for lunch with the kids and just listen to what questions they were asking me. And that became my curriculum. Or when I was trying to do a game, I'd be thinking, okay, games are like simulations. Yeah, you want to practice the language, but in a way where it's not just boring practice, it's a real reason for it, a simulation. So I just look at the kids and see what games they're playing. And then I just bring them to the English classroom and then just put English into them. So a lot of the ideas came from the kids. But then other times, it does. Like when we're doing training, spend all day from 8 a.m. till 6 p.m. training the teachers. And then from 6 p.m. till 10 p.m. is talking to the teachers. So I really need my sleep. And then at 3 a.m. it's like a new song comes in my head and I'm like, no, I need to go to sleep. But creativity ideas either come from combining two different things, or they come from programming your mind saying, I want this result, and then switching off and doing something else, like going for a walk or something. Like Steve Jobs never did meetings. All his ideas came from walks because he just went for a walk, thought about something else, and then it bang, popped in your head. There's lots of great books about that, about creativity and things, but it comes from everywhere. Great question.
How do you imagine your ideal English class? Describe, let's say, a 45-minute class. How do you start? Or, of course, there are songs involved, but something special that's very typical for Genki English.
Great. Wow, these are great questions. Okay, I'm just going to put my tea down just a minute so I can use my hands again to explain. So I think 45 minutes is actually a great time for lessons. And even if you're doing private lessons, do 45 minutes, 15-minute break, really cool. And I always split. So what we found was that when we're doing a lot of work with universities and governments, they wanted these really detailed lesson plans. And it's like 1 minute 02.3, say this word, 1 minute 0.02. And then no one ever looked at them. I mean, I used to write them out and do PDFs and like do it. So then we thought we'd do video, and we did videos, and we videoed the whole 45-minute lesson, and then nobody looked at those. So we edited the videos down, and it's still nobody looked at them. So complexity is the enemy of success. So the simpler you can make something, the easier it becomes. So all our lesson plans are just 3 steps. 3 steps. So the first one is warm up and review. So physically moving, so we know it's something new, and we review every single lesson we've done so far. That might just be asking the question and getting students to respond or whatever. That's usually 5 or 10 minutes. The next 5 or 10 minutes is usually the input stage. Now, these days, ideally, that input stage of teaching the new words will be done before the class with flipped learning, because flipped learning is just miraculous. They learn at home on the computers, and so in time, you don't have to input the pronunciation. They've already got the pronunciation. They come to class knowing everything. And in that 5 to 10 minutes, you just ask them what the meanings are, make sure they've not misunderstood something. And then the final 20 minutes is just practice. And those are the games. We do that with a game because there's adrenaline involved, and it's the first time, when you first time you speak to someone, like now, you're talking to me now, you've got a lot of adrenaline, you're going, it's scary. So we try to simulate that in class with a game. So that's how we do it. Warm up, review, 5-10 minutes, input stage, and output with the game. Keep it simple. The simpler your lesson plan, the more successful it will be. You're welcome. Thank you for the great question. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else?
Oh, we got more. Okay, cool.
Young man, come on, bring it
This
on.
is great. I got a chance to drink my tea while you're walking up as well, which is good. How you doing?
So my question was, we just did discuss how you got to this point, basically. I want to know what are kind of your steps going forward now? Like, what is the future of Genki? And if you have anything specific, even like given the times we are living in now, what do you plan to do in the future?
Great question. So, what we're seeing? So, for example, last month, when the whole Ukraine thing started off, I was a little bit busy because I'd been in Kiev 4 weeks before, and my family was still in Kiev. So I was a little bit busy trying to get them out and trying to. Grandmas and GPS don't usually work very well. So trying to navigate them out of Ukraine when there's bombs and things flying is quite a difficult situation. So I wanted to help them, but I couldn't because I was busy with family stuff. And what happened was that the Genki English community of teachers got together with the Ukrainian teachers, and like 30 of the teachers set up free online lessons for hundreds of kids in Ukraine. And they did that all on themselves. So I think the key, I've been doing Genki English now 20 years, and I'm not going to be doing it 20 more. Well, maybe, well, no, not really. But the idea is you inspire it. And just like with your students, it's the teacher lights the fire and then the students learn. I think with Genki English, it's the community of teachers now. So when teachers join us, they don't join me, they join the community of teachers, and then they're all helping each other. And we keep really strong, we have really strong community guidelines and things, like respecting everybody's key and things. But when you're building up that community they can then spread out and you can change things in a much bigger way. So the curriculum for A1, A2 level, got it certified, it works. The lesson plans are all tried and tested. I think now is me pulling back more and letting the teachers learn, and it's all about community. And that's what the whole thing with social media is. It's all about building your community and building your team, because whatever dreams you've got, who's going to be your superhero team? Because you can't do it yourself. You're good at one thing or maybe two things, but you're not good at everything. So you think what team you can build and then pull yourself out so that team keeps going on forever. That's what we're looking at now. Cool, great question.
Anyone else?
We're all good? Awesome. Cool.
All good. So, what's left to say? Well, thank you very much for inspiring. I hope some of you got an inch bit inspired. Yeah. Yes. Yes. We've got another one, another brave man. Come on, bring it on. Come on, bring it on.
This is going to be a really difficult question. I know it is.
To be honest, I have like really so I might miss it's because
Speak up a little bit, please. It's a little difficult to hear.
okay, so you described the first lesson with an adult student. You should ask him what is your best English lesson, how it should look like. So let's say I have a kid that's 10 years old, and how should I start as this first lesson, like with a kid? Should I ask him like a question, how would you like to study English, or should I ask parents these questions, or this?
Great question. Okay, so with kids, the parents are paying, so usually they're the boss, really. But kids in general, we sort of know what they want. Kids want power, they want authority. Kids don't have much decision making in real life, so they want agency. They want to learn, and they want to have fun, and they want to do cool stuff, not boring stuff. That's usually the same for all kids. But the parents are the ones who vary. Like some parents will want spoken English so they're fluent really quickly. Some of them will want this exam. Some of them will want just to help the kid with social skills. I don't know, there's all sorts of different ones. So asking the parent is key. You can also ask the kids as well if you want. But also be careful of the language, yeah? So the question is, it's not what's your best English lesson or what would you like? That's too wussy. It's if I had a magic wand and can make the most perfect English experience for you, what would that look like? And get them to describe, because it's the whole experience, yeah? And this will be for any of you going to other businesses as well in the future, yeah? When you buy a Tesla, you're not just buying 4 wheels, yeah? You're buying the identity of being a Tesla owner. So when somebody comes to your English class, they're not just learning English, they're buying an experience, and it's everything. It's how you communicate with them, it's how you finish the lesson, it's how you start the lesson, it's how you talk to your ex-students, it's how you market your lessons, it's everything, yeah? It's the experience. So if I could wave a magic wand and make the most perfect English experience for you, what would that look like? And ask the parents, ask the kids as well if you want. There you go. Yeah, and actually, it's a great question. It's a great question there. Okay, so it's a great question because the language we use determines the quality of our life, and the quality of our questions determines the quality of our life. So if you say to somebody, what's a good English lesson for you? What's the best English lesson you've had? How's your car? What sort of coffee do you like? It's not as good as saying, it's your birthday coming up next week, yeah? I know you love coffee, right? I know you absolutely love. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go out and I'm going to fly to Italy, to Milan. I'm going to find the very best coffee in all of Italy. I'm going to bring it to your house. I'm going to make it for you on the morning, bring it in with some flowers and a beautiful breakfast. And it's going to smell absolutely gorgeous. Now tell me, what would that feel like to you? What would your ideal coffee, what sort of coffee would you love to get on your birthday? And if you can learn to use language like that and create these pictures in people's heads, that's how you can inspire people even more. And that's how you can, that's why English is so powerful. It's not about my name is Richard. It's about, Richard, your name is the most important part of it. Yeah. And it's the language you can use, positive, inspirational language that lets you really have a huge influence on people. Hello. I can just turn up a little bit louder, please. Sorry.
You can almost touch it.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you, my philosophy is that everyone has different style of learning, especially when it comes to languages. Everyone has different ways. For example, somebody is more into vocabulary, somebody is more into talking, more into watching movies or something. And I thought that maybe I should apply that into my teaching or learning experience and when I'm going to teach. And do you think it will be some kind of effective, maybe if I would be able to manage that? Can you imagine that? So to tell students that, okay, you have your own way of studying and maybe introduce them some ways that are also effective, because some ways are not effective at all, and to grade them and to assign them. I'm not sure if that's an answerable question.
It is an answerable question, but it would take us weeks and weeks of discussion. That's excellent. That's one of the core big questions of education right now, because the fundamental thing is that nobody knows how to do education on a big scale, because the idea of teaching everybody in a country is a very new idea. Yeah, it was invented in the Industrial Revolution, where they just had to bring all the farm workers, bring them to factories and teach them how to sit down, shut up and take orders so they become good factory workers. And it sort of worked in that part, but compulsory education hasn't worked very well. I mean, you just look at, for example, COVID or something like that, and you look at how bad some people are at math and other situations as well. So it's a big question. What I would say is that for beginners, especially, and for higher level C1, C2, we tend to know what works really well. We tend to know what techniques work really well, and they are usually fundamental human psychology-based ideas. So, for example, music. Yeah, the vast majority of people can control their mood through music. If I played you some really falling asleep, chill out, 3 a.m. style music, you would all fall asleep. If I got an electric guitar out and went bam, you'd all waken up. So there are some fundamental human things that work, like stories. All humans respond to stories because we've been programmed to have them. Fight or flight. So using the amygdala, for example, when you have a game, if you can have some jeopardy in the game where there's something bad will happen unless they actually do it. You get the fight or flight response, you get the adrenaline, you get the, whoa, what is that? It is. So there are some techniques like that that are universal, and especially beginning levels, they're universal, and you personalize it in the content. So, if you want to talk about the Oscars last night, or if you want to talk about a particular football team or something like that, you personalize it. When you get to teenagers who are in B1, B2 level, it tends to diverge a lot more. So you would need different options, and you're not going to reach everybody. But one thing as well is that are you planning on going to teach in the government sector or in the private sector? Which do you think? Sorry? Okay, so the government sector is a more challenging one because you have to teach everybody. Yeah, you can't say to them. So in the private sector, it's a lot easier because you can say, I'm only going to teach these people. If you are blah, blah, blah years old, if you believe in this mentality, if you want to do work or not do work, you get to choose exactly who you teach, and you can't reach everybody. Yeah, because even the big religious leaders didn't teach everybody. Jesus didn't get everybody. Gandhi, Buddha, and everyone didn't get everybody. Yeah? You get to choose. But in government schools, you have to reach everybody. So yeah, I think what you'll find is there's a big core, actually A1, A2 level of techniques that work for just about everybody. But then, yes, you will have to personalize around the edges. But be very careful of people who use it as an excuse. So very often, if you're teaching kids who are 11 or 12, the last thing an 11-year-old or 12-year-old wants to do is be embarrassed by the kids in the class. Yeah, they always want to be cool and stuff. Yeah, so if you're doing some sort of game or something and it makes them embarrassed, you've lost them. Yeah. So, but if you can do something that empowers people or has got more personalization about it, that can really help. So yeah, there's a big core of things that work. Learn all those skills, and then we're going to need personalization around the edges. But that's the big topic now in education. It's a great question.
Thank you.
You've got some awesome students there. These are amazing questions.
I'm so happy that, but you know, I think these questions came because somebody inspired them. I don't know who it might have been, but what do you think? Shall Richard deserve some kind of applause?
Oh, thank you.
Oh no, really. As I told you, I invited Richard because I wanted to inspire you, and my task, as we were talking with Elenka and Mary, was to bring more practice, more something tangible into to this whole event. And well, you did not do too many, or you did not do anything tangible right now, but I think you inspired and you brought some ideas which are going to be working in their minds and eventually are going to make themselves physical. And so I'm very grateful for that. I don't know if there's anything else you would like to add at the end.
Well, if you want something tangible, I would recommend all of you to go out this week and get at least your first private student. Get your own student. Even better if you can get it in a pair. So there's two of you teaching, yeah? Do it on Zoom if you want. And then you can give feedback on each other and learn together. But start teaching now. Because so I'll tell you a little secret. You guys are some of the best teachers there are. No doubt about it. Because number one, you speak English. 99% of English teachers in the world don't speak English. Yeah, they just hand out worksheets and workbooks. Yeah. Secondly, you're asking great questions, the hard questions, the difficult questions. So you're right at the top level, yeah? And the kids and the adults need you now because too many kids are still suffering from teachers who are not as passionate as you are, who are not as skilled as you are. So don't wait. You know, the imposter syndrome is real, but the imposter syndrome just means that if you feel you're not good enough, just do the work and get better. And that work is practice teaching. It's just teaching. And don't worry, you can be absolutely terrible at your level and you'll be better than the majority of teachers. I promise you. All of you could go out now and help kids and help adults get better. And then you'll just make mistakes. You'll do terrible lessons. If you video them, you'll look back in 5 years' time and you'll go, oh my goodness, that's what I was doing. But that's part of it. You look at my YouTube channel, you look at my videos and you go, oh my goodness, that's terrible. I'll probably look at this video next week and think, oh, that's terrible. But it doesn't matter. You just keep going and practice and practice and practice. And every country in the world is looking to change its education system. Every country knows that the 19th century system that we still have is not preparing kids for a 21st or 22nd century world. Some of the kids born now will be living in the 22nd century. Some of the kids you'll be teaching will be living in the 22nd century. It's crazy. And so you have to think, what ideas can you do? What new things can you do? We're too old to do it. We can't change. You are all super young. You're super energetic. The ideas will come from you, and that will come from you practicing, getting your own students, messing things up, looking at people who've gone before you, asking questions whenever you get stuck. You can always email me or ask me questions. I'm more than happy to help out. But you're just going out there and just do it. Just start practicing being a teacher now. And if you've got that practical skill, along with the theory and everything you're learning in your classes at the university, you've got everything. And you can choose whatever type of teacher you want to be, and you can go on and make a huge, huge difference in the world. So enjoy yourselves. Be Genki. And I'll see you all later. I've got to go now. Goodbye.
Audience, I'm very sorry we were not able to ask questions. There was such a fast way he left. But at least give us a thumbs up somewhere at the bottom if you like this. Ah, yes, thank you. Great, Anna Maria. Oh. Where does he get his energy from? It's just the Genkins. He inherited it. That's the way it is. If you have passion for something, you're gonna get the energy. So thank you everyone online for listening. Thank you everyone here for being a part of this talk. So